Why do I feel guilty about taking trips? Especially as we get into the rest of the year with like longer public holidays, which are 3-day weekends, and the ability to just go places, not even internationally. I'm talking about domestically, when you take like the Amtrak as an example, not even a flight to a different city. Why do I feel so guilty about that and spending money on personal experiences? I don't know about you, but this concept of spending money on yourself is something that I've always had personal problems with. Maybe it's because my mindset when it comes to money is like a different thing. But for example, like for me it's like incredibly hard for me to justify spending money on myself. Like with clothes, if like I literally like have, for example, holes on my socks with like pairs of socks that I haven't replaced yet, to like needing like a new laptop or something like that if like my current one isn't working. Like the concept of spending money on myself is it's just difficult, you know what I mean? But like at the same time, like I recognize you need to spend a certain amount to survive, if you know what I mean, like, you know, food, rent, all that stuff. That's like those are normal responsibilities, right? And then like when you talk about recreational activities, there's always a certain amount of guilt that I feel whenever I'm spending like money on trips, for example, and not even expensive ones, you know, like maybe a couple of $100 to like go somewhere for like a day or two and then come back. I don't know. It's like it's a really weird feeling, and it's something that has gotten progressively worse over time as I've gotten older into my 30s, because I'll be 30 in 2 years, and it's just like, where does this come from? It's an interesting concept, and I think it represents a mind shift when it comes to the younger generations that are younger than me, and I'm only 28, and maybe some older folks as well. So let me explain. So as we all know, the economy isn't doing like the best in the world right now. Like people are getting laid off left and right, people are quitting their jobs because of just mental burnout, a lot of disassociation going on right there. Times are tough all around, and I think the younger generation as well is slowly realizing that in addition to inheriting a planet that's potentially been wrecked due to the environmental consequences of actions that older generations have like done in the past, in addition to a system that rewards the top 1% in the world and leaves the 99% like behind, where people can't, for example, like I'm 28, right? And I remember my dad telling me that when he was my age, he was able to afford a house when he was working like a regular full-time job that wasn't even paying that well at the time, before like inflation was even factored in. So when you have a generation that's being raised on a lot of phone screens right now, which contributes to a lot of mental health crises, you have a planet that's being wrecked by climate change. We literally saw Hurricane Helene and Milton like wreck through Florida, and that's only going to get progressively worse, not just in that area, but across the world as we go on. We have a society that doesn't it doesn't have a good support system for younger people just growing up and also literally graduating from like college, with a ton of student debt in the US. Of course, that's different in Europe. And then couple that with rents rising, inflation, economy not doing well, and the fact that you can't afford to buy a house when you're in your, 20s, which is, when you're approaching your economic prime and folks want to start a family. All that combined, I think, has contributed to a major mindset shift in the younger generation. So, for example, I was reading an article, I remember like a year ago, about like a lot of Gen Z folks going into debt, credit card debt specifically, when it comes to financing their trips, because they had the mentality where, what does it matter if I can't afford to buy a house, I can't afford my groceries, I can't, I'll never be able to afford having a family because it's just too damn expensive. All of that combined has resulted in some people thinking like, okay, well, if I can't do, what the American dream was all about, having a family, getting a house, having a good paying job, all that stuff, I might as well enjoy myself and like go on a trip. So let me finance it on my credit cards. But then they overspend lavishly, and then, they get into a bunch of credit card debt. So it's a very interesting mindset shift, and I wonder if it's also reflective in myself. So this concept of redefining your relationship with money in terms of a mindset is nothing new. So I'm going to coin this entire video, or just the concept of this entire video, where you're spending money on experiences, as taking the guilty trip. Sorry, that light is like shining. Wow. Still playing around with the camera. But the point is that like, I think take that guilty trip, because like, if there's one thing that I realized is that as the years have gone by, life is very short. Like, people have died in my life, friends have moved on, all that good stuff. And like, if you wait to kind of seize moment and experience life through experiences, as cliche as that sounds, you're never going to actually like live, in my opinion. So process wise, there are a couple of things that I would recommend if you're struggling with this as much as I am. So the first is to change your mindset and your values with money. I'm not talking about like, spending $10,000 on a car, or like, $100,000 on a car is a better example than that. But like, realize what you want to spend your money on and prioritize that in life. Like, for example, for me, money is a tool that I use to get better education, take better tutorials, to get better resources, all that, get certifications, to unlock higher job opportunities. So education wise, money is a tool that I use to unlock better opportunities, and also like that, experience life through different experiences, like taking a trip every so often, you know what I mean? And like, not going financially broke, but education, experiences, and not on material things. So the second thing that I would recommend is like to realize, have a budget. Obviously, like, if you're interested in different types of hobbies, like, do that for sure. Realize what you're spending your money on. I should probably do a better job of that. But don't spend your money on frivolous things. Like, for example, don't be gambling half the time. If people actually do that, they fall into that hole. Don't spend, $50,000 on like a gold chain to flex in front of your friends. There's a bunch of things that you can do to make sure about that. So change your mindset with money, realize what your values are, don't spend money on frivolous things if you can avoid it, and just overall, just enjoy life. Like, I think from a personal perspective, I don't do enough of that. And yes, like, I go to a lot of embassy events and I enjoy life here in DC, but that's very different. That's almost become like a job in some respects, with like the second job that I have with embassy life in DC. Check out the other YouTube videos about that if you want to learn more, embassy events, all that great stuff. But I'm talking about experiencing life. And I feel like there's a special way to do that, where you are traveling, you're going to a different place, like, you're experiencing, you're visiting new museums, you're meeting new people. Just by being in a different place, life is like radically different. So anyway, I don't want to make this video like 20 minutes long like I did the other one, but yeah, that's like my experience kind of like recently with like the long weekend coming up. But I'm filming, it's like October 11th today, so it's like a little bit out of order for the YouTube channel. But I was just thinking that before I take my weekend trip to Lancaster, Philadelphia, which is where I'm going, for fun, I had this thought, like, why do I feel so damn guilty about spending money on myself, and then also trips, like, I'm good with my money, like, I don't spend it, like, recklessly, you know what I mean? Like, I don't try to flex or impress in front of anyone. I don't give a crap about that. It's just that, like, this guilty feeling was something that I was strongly feeling today. And I was just like, but I planned out an entire weekend trip for myself, and I'm getting out of town, So, yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting just to experience all that, like, today. So, anyway, that's it for this video. My name is Nate. This is the Life with Nate YouTube channel. I make videos on what I find interesting, from embassy events to life stuff like this, which is, like, interesting enough. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you next time.